If your philosophy, for instance, is we're just going to slam dunk people, right? We're going to just bash them with follow-up after follow-up, just relentless, right? Do you want to buy yet? Haven't heard from you. Call me back. And it's just this kind of selfish outflow, quite frankly, because it's like, give me a commission, right? We call it commission breath in the industry. You do that, right? And that philosophy of, feelings don't matter. The experience doesn't matter. What matters is just an immense aggressive amount of follow-up. You'll actually end up burning bridges probably and losing a lot of deals.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Experts. I'm your host, Andy Arter, and today I'm bringing you a month-end special because I know many of you are sitting on a lot of work that you've done over the past month or the past quarter, and that is in your quotes. These are in the unsold customers that you have in your book of business now that either you or your team took the time with, got them a price, brought them a solution, and they haven't bought yet. And I'm sure if you're experiencing much of what I've seen over the years, you've got customers that are quoted, they are not sold yet, and there's a spectrum. You've got customers on one end that are engaged, they're updating you, they're telling you why they haven't bought yet or what they need to do or what they need from you. And on the very opposite end of that spectrum, we've got non-communication, customers that you have not heard from. You've quoted them and then you hear nothing. Maybe you've been calling, texting, emailing, etc., and they are basically a ghost at this point in time, right? And there's some different reasons behind that. And then you've got customers in between or prospects in between. So the goal today is to give you actionable insight, first laying a foundation into some principles. The principles are very important. And just to give you guys some context, there's a lot of things I don't know, right? There's a lot of things I'm still working on. And so you showed up today to be educated, to learn things as well. But at the end of the day, in my career, I would say of any skill set I have, follow-up, prospecting, closing, negotiating, anything, right? Systems, right at the peak of that is my follow-up game. And I had to learn how to follow up to survive. In 2016, I took a job with a large and influential individual who had billions of dollars in real estate and a massive training company. And when I walked in and I built my first pipeline in the first 90 days, I had a big problem. And that's why I wasn't closing anything. I was teeing up the deals. I was quoting people. I was making phone calls, but I was not closing the deal. And we got an eviction notice and had no money. And in fact, we had debts that had not been paid and had lapsed and our credit had tanked. And it was one of those situations where it was sort of a life or death. And instead of forfeiting, ended up leaning into that and saying, what needs to be done in the next 2 weeks here to pay back the apartment, not be evicted, and also find success. And the solution was follow-up. The solution was to take everybody I had spoken with, everybody I had quoted, and spend the next 2 weeks obsessing over how do I get a hold of these people and how do I close some deals here? And it worked. Went from a potential homeless situation to the best financial month I'd had in my life up to that point, and then a northward trajectory from there. And so the key was figuring out how to follow people up the right way and to have the right mindset around follow-up. So when I talk about principles, and then we'll give you strategy, is really important as an agent, as a producer, that you understand the principles. Because if you understand the principles, you almost don't need the strategy, right? If you understand the principles, the strategy will reveal itself to you. Your creative units will turn on, right? When we think about a creative solution, hey, I have John Smith. I quoted him 3 weeks ago. I've done a couple touch bases. I haven't heard anything. How do I move John across the finish line and get him closed up this month instead of next month or the month after, right? If you really start to break that down and you think about what needs to happen, we can either do the generic follow-up or we can do the creative follow-up. Well, when you're creating, when you're coming up with ideas, right, and you have principles behind that, those principles need to be sound. If your philosophy, for instance, is we're just going to slam dunk people, right? We're going to just bash them with follow-up after follow-up, just relentless, right? Do you want to buy yet? Haven't heard from you. Call me back. And it's just this kind of selfish outflow, quite frankly, because it's like, give me a commission, right? We call it commission breath in the industry. You do that, right? And that philosophy of, feelings don't matter, the experience doesn't matter. What matters is just an immense aggressive amount of follow-up. You'll actually end up burning bridges probably and losing a lot of deals. You'll have the opposite effect. So the principle cannot be we're going to slam dunk people and go crazy. The principle of follow-up needs to be, right, within the agency, different than that. And so the first foundation I want to lay here is a couple of concepts, and then I'm going to get right into best practices, strategy, and give you guys actual actionable takeaways that you can take into your quotes today and implement successful follow-up. So let's talk about the principles. A couple ground rules here. In follow-up, there are times when you need to ask for the business. There are times when you need to be clear with people that your time is valuable, right? There are times when it calls for a very direct follow-up. Hey, we spoke at this point in time, wanted to find out if you're, looking to move forward, if it's something we need to kick down the field, or if you've already come up with, your next insurance and, we can part ways amicably. There is a time and place for that, but people jump to that so fast. They go right into, have you made a decision, right? And as a consumer, if they wanted to make a decision, if they had made a decision, they probably would have bought, right? And if they're the type of person that has already bought somebody else's product and you haven't heard from them, right? Then you reaching out saying, hey, we want to do something together or not, can actually drive them away further, which means they ghost you harder and you never actually get to figure out if they're a prospect or not. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to hit our list in a way in our follow-up that makes people want to run away from us, because now we have a bunch of people in our pipeline that we can't get a hold of. We have no idea whatsoever as to why they're not reaching back or they're not engaging. So we have to assume that they're still a buyer, but this is how we can actually burn a list, right? So the first thing is that you should always lead with value, especially early on. Like you've just met with a prospect and it's day 1 or day 3 or day 7 or day 14. The dialogue is not at an urgent level of like, are we rolling? Are you doing this today or not? Right? At that stage in the game, you're actually still selling them. And I want you guys to think about follow-up as in, we are still selling individuals through this. Why? Because everything you do is a direct representation of doing business with you. It's an experience, right? When you go crazy and you get desperate and it's the end of the month and you need a deal, like you don't just want a deal, like you need it. Maybe you're going to miss a goal if you don't get it. That desperation comes through in crazy action, right? And you might have a very good intent behind it. I want to help them. I want to get business. But if that comes across as desperate in any way, selfish in any way, self-centered in any way, people can feel that. And some of you have done it. I've certainly done it, where I do have those moments where I need a deal. I don't just want a deal. I need a deal. And then I take selfish action to go follow people up in a way that serves me, not them. And if they don't tell you, right, and they just disappear, that's why they're disappearing. Some will tell you, right? And it's a very, very strong wake-up call to have a customer write you back, call you back, or let you know, hey, you're freaking me out. This is getting weird, right? They'll say it in different ways, but that's the effect that you can have on people. And then if one person says that to you, how many others feel the same way and didn't even want to tell you because they want to run for the hills and they're sick of being chased down? And I'm going to give you a quick story on this. My wife signed up for a trial with LA Fitness up in Buffalo, New York, Orchard Park, New York. They were very aggressive. Their activity was very good. We're talking multiple follow-up calls a day, literally. It'd be like 9 o'clock, 4 o'clock the next morning, 10 o'clock. Persistence was great. Work ethic was great. But sales process-wise, right, they would come in and it was just like, we have a special running. Are you ready to sign up? Don't miss the window, right? Do you want to get signed up today? And it's a huge turnoff, right? So like we ran away from that situation and actually like blocked the number because it got so out of hand. And this is a big company, right? Hecta millions going into this company. It's not small potatoes, but they got it wrong. They got it wrong because it's selfish follow-up and it's an aggression that's going to turn a lot of people off. So when you start to look at that, right? And it's like, how do we keep our nerves about us and not let our emotions take over and ruin this thing? You need to have a principle. And the principle is value first. Value first. I really want you to hear me on this. Value first. What does that mean? It means that when I'm reaching out to a prospect, whether it's a home, an auto quote, whether it's commercial, whether it's financial services, we need to find a way to add value to this person. Why? Because if it's real value, not fake value, not here's an ebook that nobody's ever going to read, real value, right? Even down to an individual level, what would be valuable to John? What does John care about today? And it may be insurance, but it might be something else. You define that and you create an outreach to John that brings him value, right? And it brings your prospect closer to wanting to do business with you, because this is not a follow-up hinged on, do you want to do business and buy our policy? This is hinged on gratefulness for their time and pure value that's going to help them. See, I always like to say, like, go to work for somebody before they hire you. So if you can treat your quote list as people that you're already working for, right? And we start to frame that context in of, okay, I don't have your business yet. We haven't inked a deal. However, you're a human being, I'm a human being, and maybe you have resources, value, ideas that can help benefit this individual. What do you think is going to happen between two sales reps? And on one side, you've got the crazy salesperson who's very persistent and they have a great work ethic, but everything they do is self-centered, right? Everything they do is deal focused. Hey, just following up, just touching base with you, wanted to see if you wanted to get back together. Hey, can I give you a ring this afternoon? If they're not ready to talk to you again, what are they going to do? They're going to ignore you. And if you do that too many times, not only will they ignore you, they're just not going to want to do business with you. And then you've got another rep, right? Versus this one. And this person is reaching out and it's, thank you so much for your time a couple of days ago. Hey, this is an idea I had for you. Hey, this is something valuable I found. I want to give you something. What are we doing? We're working for them for free. We're thinking creatively of ways to add value to this person, but we're doing it in a way that is not self-centered. So you've got to be really genuine with this. Like, I really believe that the way that you set your intent when you build your follow-up is gonna trickle out all the way to how your customer or your prospect feels you when you do that follow-up. So if there's any shred of like, I'll do value, but it's just because I have to, right? I'll send something valuable because it's the right thing to do, versus like, what could I really do to add value to this person? Maybe it has something to do with insurance. Maybe it doesn't, right? Maybe the follow-up I do has nothing to do with the insurance policy at this stage. Maybe I know other problems in their business or in their life or their family or other ways to add value or relevant things that are going to help them that have nothing to do with the policy. So now this expands your creative bank, because now it doesn't become, well, what can I do relevant to this specific quote to follow them up? This becomes, how can I add value to them? And so this is where you'll just explode with ideas, right? Hopefully. And we're going to talk through some of those ideas today. But really, that's first principle. Always add value first. Genuine value. Be in it to go to work for your prospect before they ever sign a policy with you, right? The second principle is never rely on one medium. Don't even rely on two mediums. Medium being phone call, email, text message, social media, a letter in the mail, a third-party touch from somebody else in your office, right? There are so many different ways to target people and get a hold of them. And here's the reality. Some of you like reading books, but some of you will not pick up a book and read it, but you'll listen to books. I'm that guy. I haven't picked up a book and read it on a sheet of paper in years, but I knock out about 60 books a year on Audible. That's my flavor. So if you're trying to sell me a book and you bring me a hard copy, I'm not going to read it. Sorry. You send me an audiobook, I will listen to it. So same thing. Maybe if you call me and leave voicemail after voicemail, grab my phone, it doesn't work because I get 20 voicemails a day and I'm already swimming in calls and it just goes under the radar. It goes unnoticed. But maybe if you message me on Facebook, where I get maybe 3 messages a day, it pops up on my phone and I actually see it. Maybe neither of those are good, right? Text or Facebook. Maybe I am an email guy. How would you know that about somebody? Look at the clues. How have they communicated with you in the past? When you initially quoted them, did they opt in for a text message? Did you ask them, may I text you my information so you have my info and I can reach out with any updates? And did you get them to opt in? And then did you send a text to them after the quote and say, hey, this is our cell number. Just wanted to confirm you got this okay so that we know we're connected. And they never reach back to you. Next time I'm going to follow up that customer, I want to look back at the history. I sent 2 texts to them right after our call. They gave me their number and they never responded. Is it wise for me to spend my time sending a text then if they never even text me back to confirm after the quote when they said they would? Probably not. but maybe their initial quote request came through via an email. Well, I know this is more of an email person, right? There's different ways to attack this. So the second principle is we're never going to rely on one medium. Like if we're going to do a value add, first principle, always add value. Second thing, how do I deploy this value to this person, right? We're going to hit them in 2 or 3 different ways. Maybe I send the email and then I call them and they don't pick up, but I leave a voicemail and I say, hey, I sent over X, Y, and Z. I just wanted to make sure you got it. Man, I hope you're having a great day. Give me a ring if you have any questions and make sure you check your email. If you didn't get it, let me know. And then maybe you don't hear from them for 4 hours and you hit them with a text message. Hey, one last thing here. Wanted to let you know I did reach out this morning and I sent over XYZ in value and just want to make sure you got it. If you have any questions, let me know. I hit this person with an email. I followed up with a phone call to make sure they got it. And I sent a text maybe a day or 2 later to confirm that they got it, right? That's an example of one message being used 3 different ways. So I got 3 follow-up touches. The first was sending the value. The second was following up to make sure they got the value. These are all touch points. And guess what? None of them involve us saying, you want to do the policy yet? You ready to make a decision? These are all about initially, did you get the value I sent you? And look, there will be a few people out there that are so quick and they're flying through life that they're going to be like, I'm not interested. We're not doing the deal. We went a different direction. We're not signing up for a policy this month, whatever. That will happen. You'll get the occasional person, but most people, when they actually read what you did, they're not going to come back with that negative feedback we get on follow-up sometimes, because why would they? If somebody walks up to my front door and knocks, and I think that they're trying to sell me solar or pest control, but then they have a package and they're like, hey, this is whatever, right? This is a gift. This is a Plod AI transcribing tool, whatever. This is a new bike. And they just give me a gift. And I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I mean, what do you need from me? They're like, nothing. Just like, I wanted to give this to you. This adds value to your life. Am I really going to be, get out of here? I'm not interested. No, if they're pitching me, I'm going to do that. But if they're gifting me, I'm more likely to not only reciprocate, but just receive it well. It feels good. And I'm like, I like that girl or guy. You know, when they follow me up, they're not here to slam dunk a deal with me. They're thinking of ways to add value. Right. And that's an extreme example, but I'm trying to paint a contrast for you to understand this principle of value versus ask, value versus deal. And so now combining these 2 principles, we can start to think with a few things. First of all, you've got the principle of value, and it doesn't give a whole lot of people a lot of reasons to be upset with you. It also sort of uncaps the amount of follow-up you can do. Like if I sent you $1, right? For any one of you, I send you $1 today on Venmo or Zelle, and you get the $1 and you're like, oh, okay. And I send you another $1 tomorrow and then $10 the next day and then $10 the next day. And I just keep sending you a few dollars every day. Are you really going to be like, stop sending me money? Stop that. You stop sending me money via my Venmo for no reason. No, you're not. You're actually going to be like, who is this person? Like, this is wild. So when we think about follow-up with value, I wouldn't say it gives you permission to be a psychotic, like have a psychotic break and hit them 20 times a day. But certainly if you want to touch base with them every 3 to 5 days, every 5 to 7, 7 to 9 days, whatever cadence that you want, if every time it's value, I don't need to worry about burning this person out. If I burn somebody out by giving them value and working for them before they pay, they're probably not my customer anyway, or they just very confused person, right? Or they're not reading anything I'm sending. So really at the end of the day, that value principle is so important because it actually increases the amount of follow-up you can do. Like if my only game in town is, hey, do you want to get back together, put the details together and see if we can get this policy started for you in some version, right? And that's your follow-up, is some sort of an ask. Let's get together. Do you want to move forward? Do you want to review things? Hey, something just changed. We had a rate decrease. I don't know. And that's your only game in town. Try that 10 times in a row and see how they feel after 10 of those. How do you do that? Nobody does that. I wouldn't do that. I'm going to get on like number 3 and I'm going to look at myself and be like, what am I doing? If somebody did this to me, I would be so gone. And so what happens is we end up cutting ourselves off because it's like, oh, I guess I got to stop. I hit them with, pretty much the same messaging 3-4 times in a row. And now it's getting weird and I'm going to burn the deal out. So I guess they'll just sit and then deals die. So when you make it about you and you make it about the policy and the deal, you're killing yourself because you're basically giving yourself no reason to proceed with that messaging more than a couple of times before it gets weird. You do value. How many different ways can I add value to you? Right? For those of you in commercial, right? How many ways can you help their business? Can you refer them to other companies that help them with different problems in their business? Can you refer them a customer for their business? Right? Can you go out and figure out what's the biggest problem facing companies like theirs other than insurance and then get them some value on that? Like, what could you do? You could do a lot, right? Or residential, consumer, personal lines, right? Somebody's looking for an auto quote. What could we do? Right? So much. There's ways to tie them in and give them value on the community and educate them about events going on locally. There's ways you can go through and get them resources for other things that might have come up on the phone call, which is why it's so important to take notes, because as I'm doing this creative follow-up, I start to analyze this person's situation. Look, maybe somebody told me that they're just going to be kind of tied up because their kiddo is going through some medical crisis. Do I really want to follow them up in a week and say, like, you ready to get the insurance started? Or could I be creative and be like, how could I add value to this family right now? Right? How could I add value? If they're short on time, maybe I ship them a, $20 thing or a gift card or a referral code to Factor Meals. And I'm like, look, with everything going on with your family, I'm sure that you're super slammed with taking care of your child. And I was just thinking that the last thing you need to worry about is like where to get dinner cooked when you're handling all this. So this is something for you that'll help you hopefully find some meals at night without the hour of cooking, and you can, focus on your family. It's impactful, and you wake up in a service mode versus a sales mode. So it's actually more enjoyable for you as well, because now you're in this mode of like, how can I just solve problems for this person? If there's somebody that's ever showed up in your life and they just start solving problems, adding value, how badly do you want to do business with them? How much more do you want them to be your agent? How much more trust do you have when they finally ask you for your business and you're like, absolutely no brainer. You've been awesome. Sorry it took so long, right? You only get to that point with somebody when you build trust, and you build trust through value, not through trying to slam dunk them and hard close them, right? So for those of you just kind of joining us, I would encourage you to go back to the beginning because we laid out some very important principles. Now we're going to get into strategy. But again, if you're joining us, go back in the Insurance Syndicate or wherever you're seeing this on Restream or Spotify or YouTube, et cetera, and go back to the beginning, because these two principles of adding value and using multiple mediums are going to be interwoven through all of these strategies. Okay? So that's the foundation. Now, let's talk about this in practical use, right? And I'm just going to spitball some ideas around. And none of this is pre-planned, because I want to show you guys that if you use those two principles, you can create your own follow-up. You don't need a playbook. You need the principles of value and medium. How do I help this person? How do I add value? And how do I get this message in front of them? Right? Maybe they're not a voicemail person, they're a text person. Maybe they're not text, they're email. Maybe they're none of those, and I got to find them on social media, right? And we'll talk about how to do that as well. So let's say I quote somebody, real simple. It's an auto quote. Went out there, had a good conversation. They had something come up. I don't know. Maybe they're like, give me a couple weeks, and you couldn't close the deal. And now it's in your follow-up pipeline. And it's August 28th. It's Thursday. I'd love to get this person closed up. Right? Or I'd at least like to get them closed by like early September. How do I pull that deal into the present moment? Well, instead of the typical, hey, are you ready to buy yet? Hey, do you want to get together? Hey, I just had an idea for you, right? Kind of bait and hooky type stuff. We go back to the principles. Okay, this individual, how do I add value? Well, let's just say they're in your local community. So they're a local customer, and they have a family. Right? I can either go do typical follow-up. Do you want to buy yet? Or I can sit here and be like, cool, how can I add value to Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Well, I know Mr. and Mrs. Smith have 2 kids that are below the age of 10. I know they're all about their family. I know that they're kind of tight on a budget because they just told me that's the only thing holding them back is like, we just spent a boatload of money on X, Y, and Z, and we don't have a bunch of spare money. So we'll have to think about this. Right? And that's where they're at. So instead of going out and saying like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you ready to rock and roll? Because I'm telling you, if they're not, you're just not going to hear from them. Some people will tell you, but a lot won't. Instead, I go, how could I add value? Well, could I go out on Google or Grok or ChatGPT or whatever, and could I go search the stack of local events going on that's family friendly. Maybe they're having a day that's like a truck drive-in, and there's like fire trucks and police cars and military vehicles, and it's like touch a truck. I don't know if those with kids probably know what a touch a truck event is, right? My son used to love them. Go touch the garbage truck, sit in a Humvee. They're free. They're put on by the community. There's vendors, there's food. They're really fun if you have young kids. And somebody introduced that concept to me once back in the day, and that's how I knew they existed. So maybe you go in and you find some events like that. And it's instead of hey, do you want to buy yet? It's, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know when we were talking, you said it's been a pretty tight year for you, which I totally respect. I think we're all dealing with that. And, I actually just did some research and I saw that there's 2 awesome events coming up this weekend. And I know you said you've got 2 kiddos under the age of 10, and these both look like an absolute blast. Not to mention they're free, smiley face. And, I don't know if our family is going to make it out there this weekend, but I just thought I'd pass them along. Here's some voucher codes I found for the circus as well. Just some cool stuff going on. Hope you know that we're here to be your community partner, not just your insurance agent. We're super grateful for the opportunity to work with you. And I hope these are maybe some cool events that you can attend with your family. And then maybe I email it. But then maybe I make a phone call the next morning. Hey, did you get the email? No, what email? Yeah, I sent you over an email. I found this awesome event this weekend. I didn't know if you guys were going with your kids, but it looked really cool. Have you seen that? No, what is it? Oh, it's a blah, blah, blah event. It's a circus. It's a medieval fair. It's a touch a truck event, whatever. Or I'm going to switch it up here for a second. Let's say you're talking to somebody and you want to give yourself some context to follow them up. A cool question to ask somebody if you're quoting an auto is like, oh my gosh, a 2021 Chevy Traverse. Awesome. How do you like the vehicle? Right? We always want to talk about insurance, but like get off insurance for a second on the call. How do you like the vehicle? It's okay. Oh yeah. If you were to trade up to a different car, what would you get next? No, not saying I have to run insurance rates on it, but like not immediately, but if you like were to get a different car in the next, let's say year, like what would you want? What did you think you would want to get into? And they're like, oh, you know what? I would actually love a Camaro. I settled for the Traverse, but I'd love a Camaro. Oh yeah. What color? Oh, black for sure. Oh, you and me both. I love black Camaros. That's an awesome vehicle. Cool. Well, anyway, let's get back looking at your limits on your Traverse, and you quote this person. Well, here we are 4 days later, 6 days later, 8 days later. And I took notes because I'm a professional and I'm reading, I brought up the idea of like, what car would you trade up to? And they're like, a Camaro. So in my follow-up, it's not like, here's the policy again. Do you want to take a look and we can get this wrapped up? It's, hey, here's just a reminder on the key highlights of your Chevy Traverse policy. But also, funny enough, I did some research and I found 2 black Camaros for sale, one new, one used, with really good interest rates, like 20 miles up the road. And I know you said if you were going to trade up from the Traverse, you would get a Camaro. And I found these amazing deals and I thought I'd just put them in front of you. Quick question for you. Do you want me to start working up a quote for insurance on the Camaro, or do you think you're going to stick with your Traverse for now and we can just get the policy bound for that instead to get started? And then, when you upgrade down the road, I can help you get switched over to that as well. This is so different from your typical follow-up, right? Because as a customer, what am I more excited about? Honestly, like I know we all love insurance. We're bought into it. We care. You wouldn't be here if you weren't, right? However, what's more exciting? Indemnity or a 600 horsepower car with straight pipes? Probably the car. So as you ask people questions about what are they interested in life, are they going on an upcoming vacation, right? That would be a very interesting one to bring up in calls with people, especially on like a personal lines. Hey, do you guys ever go on family trips? Yeah, we do. Oh, wow. Where'd you guys last go? Oh, we went to the Outer Banks. Cool. Do you have any trips coming up? Yeah, we were talking about doing a cruise maybe in December, January, something like that. Oh, you ever been on a cruise before? Nope. But we were thinking of going with my sister-in-law. Again, think like real quick, think about this. In your sales conversation, we always talk about build rapport and take notes and get to know the customer. This is your ammunition. The detail you use to pull in those personal details is going to become ammunition in the future to add value to somebody. So if you don't take notes and you're not asking questions beyond the policy, and then I'm trying to follow somebody up, I have nothing to grasp onto unless I want to go CIA and search them on Spokio and find something out about them that they never told me, but then I could be kind of weird because we never had that conversation, right? Not to go down a bunny trail, but I did this with a prospect, a bit auto dealer in Ohio. If you're watching this, it's Mark Lyon. Mark Lyon, you're the man. But I looked him up on Spokio and I had nothing on him. I needed to follow him up. And I found out through a bunch of research, he was really into dirt bikes with him and his kids. So I started doing follow up with him on like dirt bikes because I knew that's something he'd be more interested in than, the deal I was trying to close with him. And luckily he took it nicely, but he was like, it's kind of weird, man. I never told you I was into dirt bikes. How'd you find that out? So we want to try to avoid that situation. Shame on me, right? I could have just asked him, man, what do you do with your kids on the weekends? Oh, we're into dirt biking. So back to my example, you find out, they maybe want to go on a cruise in December, right? And that's something I picked up during my sales conversation. Well, guess what? When I follow them up, instead of a local fair that's going on, I'm like, hey, I just wanted to touch base with you real quick. I know you said you wanted to go on a cruise in December. I just saw where Royal Caribbean put together a deal on their newest vessel. And as long as you don't go overboard, it's supposed to be an amazing experience. But seriously, check out this voucher. I think you could get your entire family on that cruise for less than $1,000 for a 4-day cruise out of Fort Lauderdale, all inclusive. And it falls literally, they have one the week before Christmas and the week after. I'm not a travel expert, but I thought I'd send this over to you and really look forward to putting your insurance together as soon as it makes sense. But in the meantime, I thought I'd send this over and I hope it's helpful for you. And I email it or I text it. Well, now what? Well, let's go back to the principles. Am I adding value? Yeah, for sure. I know something that's important to them aside from insurance. I'm doing something of value. I took my time. Doesn't take long. Grok AI has web search enabled in it, very accurate in real time. Hey, Grok, I want you to find cruise deals less than $1,000 that would accommodate a family of 4 somewhere between December 20th and January 15th. It's going to go out and literally find the packages for you. Hey, Grok, I want you to put this into an email to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I want you to do a light touch base, thanking them for their time on the insurance policy quote that we were able to put together. Let them know I'm excited to work for them, but really make this all value. Write this message so that it really highlights these cruise options that I knew would be important to them and make it very light and easy so they don't feel obligated to reply. And then also you could put in there, hey, draft me up a social media message for this. And then draft me up a follow-up via text message in case they don't respond 2 days later. And in 3 minutes, this thing will kick out my entire follow-up sequence, right? And eventually you can automate this stuff, but we'll just keep it basic right now. So you go out and you build that. It took you no time at all. But you went to work for them. They didn't do it, right? You have a skill set. You guys are tech experts, a lot of you, right? You could use these tools and technology. If you can't, you can learn fast. And then you give them something. I'm giving you this information. Now, what would happen 2 days from now if I haven't heard from them? Well, on one hand, if I had done do you want to do a deal? Let's put a deal together. And you just did that 2 days prior. It's kind of weird 2 days later to be like, it's me again. Do you want to do a deal? I'm paraphrasing, right? But you guys get like that follow-up is very selfish. That whole like, are we ready to roll? Do you want to get back together? Do you want to review this? Do you have any questions for me? All deal focused. Or here's something of value. Well, 2 days later, I haven't heard from them. I actually don't feel bad about following them up again. Now, maybe I go find another piece of value, right? Maybe I find another piece of value. Or maybe I just follow up on that. And I'm like, hey, did you, I hadn't heard back. I just want to make sure you saw that okay. I know it's not a big rush, but wanted to wish you a great day. And by the way, here's a link you can click to schedule a quick review of the policy with me and let me know if you have any questions or whatever, right? And then again, medium. Maybe I don't hear back on email or text for 3 days. Couldn't I just take the same message and try to reach them a different way? I do this all the time. Quote somebody, send them the quote via email. Never hear anything back. Call, leave a voicemail. Never hear anything back. Search them on Facebook. Find them in Messenger. Say, hey, want to be very respectful of your time and your privacy. I did want to double check because I sent over the quote via email and via text. Hadn't heard anything back. If you saw it, no worries. I just wanted to make sure you got it okay and see if you had any questions. P.S. Here's something I found for your family. I'm gonna actually stack the value into that follow-up. Because it's like, hey, I'm coming with a question, but like I come bearing gifts as well. You're branding yourself every time you touch these prospects, and they'll remember this. It'll add up. Not a lot of people do this, so it's not hard to stand out, right? Or let's look at like a commercial situation, right? How could we add value there? Well, I quote a commercial policy, and it's something that is maybe likely to close. Like, they're a good prospect. They're considering different options. They'd say they get back to me in a couple of days, but they don't. They disappear. And now it's August 28th, and you're like, what do I do? I've called a couple times. I've left some voicemails. I kind of feel bad about following up anymore. Do I just dish this deal for now and move on to the next one, or can I actually pull this into the future, right? Or pull it into the present moment? Meaning, if it would close on its own in 3 months, right? Naturally, how do I pull it in and get it done now? Well, the first thing is you got to get in communication with value with this person, right? Through value and through various mediums. So again, I'm just going to sit down and I want to show you guys an example because I didn't script any of this, right? I'm just literally experiencing it like you can, right? And you walk away from this call today and you sit down and do the same exercise. Okay, I've got Michael. He is the fleet director who makes all insurance decisions. They have 20 vehicles and they do waste removal and garbage removal. And we talked about this XYZ policy. I've got his cell phone. I've got his email. I've got everything. Okay, where do I start? Well, I've got Michael. I know their company. I know we can help them. I know he's the decision maker. I know about how many vehicles they have. So how can I add value to his business? Well, if I know something from the calls I'm having, right, other than insurance, during the call, I get curious. Hey, dear prospect, I'm going to role play real quick. Hey, dear prospect, Michael, man, so as we put this insurance policy together, look, like I consider myself to be like a business advisor. So aside from the insurance, I'm a really good networker, really good connector. I mean, other than insurance, what would you say are like some of the biggest headaches going on in the fleet business right now for you and the way you guys operate? Is it taxes and finances? Are you guys looking at doing any kind of new marketing? I'd love to get you connected to some good solutions if I can help. Oh yeah, no, our marketing's pretty solid, but the big thing we're having is turnover right now. We keep losing drivers. Oh, we're not a hiring firm. We're an insurance company, obviously, but no, that's something we hear from a lot of customers. And we actually know a couple of good resources. Hey, if I found a good solution to find you drivers that stuck and stayed in your fleet and helped you maintain better employee retention, you mind if I drop that over to you later? No, that'd be great, buddy. Thanks. Permission granted to send you value. So like at this point in time, I know something about this prospect. So when I go to follow him up in a couple of days, I already know his problem aside from insurance, right? The bigger problem, the one that he brought up, is staffing. It's turnover in his drivers, in his driver force, who he's trying to insure anyway. So maybe I go in and I do some research on AI or Google or whatever. And this is something you can create once and then give to all future prospects, right? A lot of this value you can put in a bank, a digital bank, put it in Monday.com, put it in a Google Drive. Have a list of resources ready to roll for future prospects so you only have to research these things once or twice. So now I go do research and I find the top 3 firms in the area that specialize in hiring temporary or permanent drivers for companies like his. And I find the contacts at those companies, the direct reps, right? Maybe if I'm going to give this out to other people in the future, I call them and I'm like, hey, I'm an insurance agent locally. We work with a ton of companies that have fleets who have drivers who need, workers' comp from us and other commercial insurance needs. But a lot of them deal with staffing issues. I was just talking to a guy named Michael the other day, and Michael mentioned that he was having big turnover at his fleet and he always had to replace and retrain drivers. And quite honestly with you, it's holding up our insurance deal because I think it's a bigger problem with him than even insurance. So I wanted to see if I could partner with you guys. I see that you do local staffing for companies just like his. Do you think that I could send people your direction and like introduce you to each other to drive business to you guys? Because look, if I can help my prospects and you can help them, I think it's a win for everybody. It helps the client, it helps you, it helps me, and we all win. How's that sound? Nobody's going to say no to that, right? If I'm a local firm that solves a problem for businesses, I'll be like, please, that sounds great. Yes, thank you. So now when I follow this guy up, maybe it's actually a warm introduction to this business owner with this staffing company. Hey, Michael, I'm copying you in with Casey Earhart. Casey runs the premier and best staffing solution, and they specialize in drivers. They've helped fleets of garbage and waste management. They help FedEx contract warehouses for their FedEx drivers, Amazon contractors, anything driver related. I talked with him and they put together everything from the background check. They have temporary and permanent employees. They negotiate all employee contracts, and good news, they have an opening to where they could probably help you fill your open positions real quick and they have turnover protection. So Casey, I'll pass off Michael to you here. I've been talking to Michael about taking care of all his insurance needs, and we're very excited about that. But I noticed this was a bigger problem for him in his business right now. Would you mind reaching out to him and giving him the options you have? Boom, referral. I'm referring one business to a commercial business owner that has nothing to do with insurance to add value to them, right? Because if this is a busy business owner, he's out running around, putting out fires, hiring and firing people, running marketing. Those owners on this call, you know what it's like running the business. So if you had a company come to you and say, like, I went and I researched, I found the guy that's going to solve that problem, I introduce you, what am I going to do now? I'm going to do the intro and I'm going to call Michael the next day. Even if I get voicemail, doesn't matter. Hey, Michael, this is Andy over at Andy's Commercial Insurance. Hey, I wanted to let you know that I did some pretty extensive research and I actually called out and talked to a guy named Casey who does all of the main staffing in this area for fleets just like yours. And I actually think he could probably solve your problem there. And you two have been introduced via email. If I can help any further, please let me know. And then, of course, on your insurance needs, we'd love to get together soon. Just let me know when that timeline works best for you. Man, have an awesome day. And then medium. I don't hear back from him. 3 days later, social media message, right? Go find the guy, track him down, because get buried in an email, could be buried in voicemails. But a Facebook message, be like, oh, I get one of those a day. Who's this? Oh, it's that insurance guy. Oh, he linked me up. Hey, thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're still looking at our options for the insurance, but thanks, man. And I get something back. So you look at that situation, right? You got one commercial rep over here just slam dunking this guy, calling him 3 times a day. You're ready to do business. And then you got this person over here, networking, making connections, caring more about his business than your own. When you care more about the person, the household, the business on the other end, more than you care about your own business, you're going to win, right? So this formula it just works. And I've done it for years and years and years. And then we can take this even further, right? Like when you really start to dig into it and you're like, well, how else can I add value? This is kind of an endless chain. And that's the beautiful part about it is you're never going to run out of follow-ups. So you start to think about value and, how do we help this person? You don't even have to be a encyclopedia genius to figure it out. There are too many resources online to have an excuse to follow somebody up with generic follow-up, right? Like when I talk about AI, if you guys are not inside of Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini, Cloud, etc., you need to be. You absolutely need to be. There's a very deep level of execution you can do with those tools, right? You can create agents and do generative AI and agentive AI and all these things in different combinations, and you can feed AIs back and forth and build systems and all that. Like we can do a separate call on that, right? But for stuff like this, it's so simple. This is rudimentary first grade AI. Is, hey, I got this prospect. Here's everything I know about them. Here's the community we're in. I want you to come up with 20 ideas that would be valuable that I can send them or give them that would just purely add value, that would be relevant to them, that would not sound like typical sales follow-up. And I want you to list these ideas out so I can put together my first follow-up for this person. So you start to look at that, right? And it's like, you don't even have to have the answers. Now, if you guys want to read a book that's going to get you deep in on this topic and probably change the way that you sell forever, this is a less common book, right? We all hear the same sales books. There's a lot of good ones out there. This one is called How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. And it's written by Stu Heineck, who's a New York Times cartoonist, actually. And he does these really funny kind of witty business cartoons, people cartoons. But he's a well-renowned author that works with trainers like Jeb Blunt, who did fanatical prospecting, and others. And his specialty is he studied for years, how do people follow up and get meetings with and get a hold of and add value to their prospects at scale? Everything from your everyday prospect and, simple email templates all the way through to like really insane stories of getting a hold of like Steve Jobs and selling him a contract ice cold. How do you get a hold of Steve Jobs back in the day? God rest his soul, right? When he was running Apple, can you imagine cold call, like getting a hold of that guy? It's not going to happen. So like Stu lays out in the book, again, how to get a meeting with anybody, like stories of like, this is how this person got a massive contract with Steve Jobs cold. If he can do that, what can you do with a commercial prospect who doesn't run Apple, right? So a lot of these examples, when you put them into practice, changes your formula forever. And it changes your brand because experiencing the, the person behind the curtain, you are the business, right? It's not the computer. It's not the policies. It's not the systems. It's not your financials. You are the business. Your team is the business. That's what a company is. It's a group of people with a common mission, organized and going out and bringing goods and services to the market to solve problems. So you are the business. The way you talk, the way your prospects feel, the way you operate is the brand. So every time that you're doing follow-up is a chance to either move farther away from this person or hedge a better relationship, build a stronger brand, increase your trust with this person so that when you actually need to get the deal, when you actually want to go in and close it, they're just like, I should have done this a long time ago. Let's rock and roll. And you should have a good gut check for yourself. If you're hearing a lot of like, hey, your follow-up's a little bit intense for me. Hey, leave me be, right? One or two of those is okay. Like sometimes you even celebrate it. You're like, yes, we're working hard over here. We're not afraid. But if it's everybody and everybody's like, leave us alone, your follow-up is broken. And you really need to go gut that and redo it, because what you'll end up doing is hurting your brand, right? I don't care how good LA Fitness is. For those of you who are on the early part of the call, I don't care if they have the best equipment, the best membership fees, the best policies. The way they followed us up lost our business forever, right? I would rather go to a gym that's an inferior product at a higher price point that makes me feel good and adds value and is a brand built on like principles of value than a brand built on principles of revenue. And so the customer doesn't care about your revenue. They care about themselves. And they care a lot more about a lot of other things other than insurance. So this process, guys, and again, if you haven't watched this whole thing, go back to the beginning and lay this out, because you're about to create a formula for limitless, endless follow-up strategies that you can create on your own accord or with AI. Here's the other thing though. When I talk about Medium, integrating videos where you can. I understand there's compliance issues where maybe certain areas you can't text a video to a certain type of consumer, right? For those commercial brokers out here on the commercial side, anything goes unless they opt out, right? So you can do a lot more on B2B, but even for B2C, right? Embedding videos or recording a video and putting it on YouTube and just linking that in your follow-up can go an extremely long way. Or there's even tools like gen.ai. You create a landing page with an embedded video. It can have a call to action such as click here to call me, click here to set up a policy review right down below, but then a video. And you can see once you send it to a customer who watched it and when they watched it. So there's a lot of ways you can drive people to a video and even track it. And my point to this is, getting out of texts, emails, written text, and doing some videos can be highly valuable as well, right? So when you look at doing those videos, it could be any one of the following things. Record a 60-second video, hire a videographer for like $300 on Fiverr or whatever, Upwork, Craigslist, have them come into your office and record everybody on the team for 3 seconds talking about why you guys are the best insurance company or why they love working there or what their biggest success in helping a client. And then you record, right? And you record a video, have a videographer chop it up for a few $100. That is your evergreen. You can use this video 1,000 times. It's like, I'll do it real quick, right? Hey, this is Andy. You and I just recently spoke about your insurance policy. And look, I know a lot of these companies out here, they're in call centers. We don't even know if they're located in the US, but I'm right here. You can see out my window here. I'm right in your backyard here in Paris, Florida. And very grateful, first of all, for the opportunity to work with you. But the thing is, it's not just me. When you come on board with us, you get the entire team. And I'm going to go to my favorite team member first, and I'm going to pan over, please meet our company dog, Fido. The editor brings up the video of Fido walking through the office and customers petting him. And then it goes to Julia, and Julie's like, hey, my name's Julia. I've been working alongside Andy for years now and at the agency. I've actually been in the industry for 12 years. I'm very proud that in my time, I've saved customers over $6 million in potential claims losses and monthly premiums. And it's just been a great ride being part of such an amazing team. So we would love to earn your business. Thank you for considering Andy's Insurance. Boom. Now it goes to Steve. He's my sales guy. And Steve's like, hey, my name's Steve. I've been with the company for 4 years. And the reason I keep coming back here is we care a lot more about you as a customer than we do, a commission or getting a deal or getting an insurance policy, right? We make sure that every time we work with the customer, it is a 5-star experience. So whether it be a claim that you need to file and you call us, whether it's me or Julia that picks up the phone, we will be here on the first ring for you at all times. And then with Andy, with him sending everything over to you, he'll be able to take really good care of you as well. But we're very grateful. We'd love to work with you. Right. And I'm just spitballing, guys, but you create this video however you want, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. And now you have a weapon, you have ammunition, because now it's 5 days after a quote. I hadn't heard from the person. And I text a video link over to this, maybe to gen.ai so I can track their views of it, or Loom or BombBomb, which is another video app. Maybe I email it. Maybe I find them on social media. What's so wrong with that? You guys could tell me if I'm crazy. What's so wrong with a prospect, a big buyer, going and friending them in the local community because you are in the local community with them, because your kids go to school together, because it's okay for humans to connect off the business relationship and build a relationship online via social media, right? When I had a mortgage broker prospecting me, he friended me on Facebook. Guess what? I got to see his entire feed of all the families he was helping get into a home. He calls it Kiss the Baby. We'll actually have him on next week. He's the top 50 mortgage broker in the entire United States and has some really interesting content for you guys. But, I watched him first. So you connect with somebody on social. Maybe you don't have to message them. Maybe you're just putting out client testimonials and here's a video of us at the fair this weekend giving away, free whatever, free tests. I don't know, right? You guys come up with your own value adds, but you have somebody come out and shoot a quick video and you're putting that on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, and you just proactively go out. You guys can go and get a tool that literally goes and scrapes your quoted prospects by email and phone number, finds them online, identifies if they have a social media profile, and then gives you a link that you can click on to go friend them. And you just start friending every single person you quote. You don't message them, you don't spam them, but they get in your feed. So when you're putting out videos and you're putting out community involvement and you're adding value, these people are seeing you and it's reminding them, oh, is that the guy that quoted me the other day? That's pretty cool that they did that. I can't believe they went down. They helped out those 9 families that got wrecked by the storm for free and cleared out all their homes. Man, that's awesome. I kind of want to do business with those guys, right? Get them on your news feed. How much more time do people spend at night from like prime hours, 6 to 10, going through their email inbox versus scrolling Facebook or Instagram, right? Everybody's over there. Everybody goes to it's like the bar of the world, right? Let's go to the bar. Let's go to the lounge, which is social media. Let's hang out at night. I'm going to watch some reels, read some messages, and scroll. That's what people do, right? People don't even watch Netflix anymore. They turn Netflix on, they're on their phone. So understand that. Understand during the day, just like you, they're busy too. So anything you can do to get in their feed, front facing with value, with branding at night, specific to that prospect, the better, right? The more you're going to hedge that relationship with them. So another thing you can do is when it starts to heat up and you're like, cool, I've been doing value, Andy. I've been sending stuff. I've been using different mediums. I've been connecting with all my quoted prospects on social and putting out good content so they can see it. And I still got some sitting there I hadn't heard back from, right? Okay, now maybe you need to amp it up a bit and do a little bit more deal focused follow-up, but you can even be more creative with that, right? Third-party touch. Give a list of your 5 prospects that you've tried to follow up for 3 weeks, haven't heard a thing. You've added value. They're on your A list, like you've taken good care of them. But now maybe I give that list over to my counterpart, right? I give it to Brett and I'm like, hey, Brett, these are 5 people that I've been following up relentlessly, but with value. I hadn't got a hold of them. Would you mind just doing a quick touch base for me? I don't have to bug my manager even. That's the thing. Hey, I'll give you 5 of mine if you give me 5 of yours, and we'll both go help each other out today. We'll take 30 minutes. We'll make 5 phone calls. And if I connect with anybody, I'll report back to you where they're at. How does that phone call supposed to sound? And I've done these like 50, 60 times. So it works. It needs to be done a certain way. So I call my buddy's list of an unsold prospect and I get a hold of them. I call from a different phone number, maybe from my cell phone so they don't recognize me, and they pick up. Hello, this is Julia. Hey, Julia. Hey, this is Andy over at Andy's Insurance. How you doing? Oh, I'm good. What's going on? I already told him we're not doing anything yet. No. Look, Julia, I understand. I wasn't calling to sell you on the policy today or get anything wrapped up. Totally understand you're not ready to roll yet. The main reason I was actually following up is I know that Sean had passed your name over. He spent, some time with you a couple of weeks ago, had been sending over some information about some local community stuff. And, I really just wanted to check in and see how he's been doing. I wanted to make sure that, you've been respected, you're being well taken care of, and like everything's good. How is my guy Sean doing for you so far? And you're going to get either, oh, well, Sean's great, but here's the deal. And they'll just reveal something to you that they didn't want to let Sean down with. But now I learn. And they're like, well, yeah, like, here's the thing. Like, we're still waiting on this to happen. And I told him, like, we could probably do this next month. Cool, no problem. Hey, look, again, I'm not here to close a deal with you or anything. I just wanted to find out if he's taking good care of you. It's good to hear he has taken good care of you. And then just a quick question. Is there any reason other than the situation you told me about why you wouldn't, want to move forward with Sean at any point? Or is he, I guess, earn the opportunity to potentially be that person for you? No. I think we'll go with you guys. We just need to wrap up a few things. Cool. Could I have him give you a call next week? Sure. You can have Sean give us a call next week. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you so much, Julia. Talk to you later. Bye. Click. Hey, Sean, I just connected with Julia. Actually, they have to close on that home. Their closing got pushed out 2 weeks. That's why they hadn't bound the policy yet. You call her on September 14th. I think she's ready to roll. Maybe send her a follow-up text and just say, hey, Andy said he connected with you. I'll call you in a couple of weeks. Good luck with your closing. This is teamwork. This is teamwork follow-up. And then Sean's like, oh, really? Because I got Matt, and Matt told me to buzz off and said he'd never do business with us, and your follow-up was too crazy. Okay, all right. Good to know. I was going to spend an hour today chasing Matt down, but he's totally dead to us. And, we're all going to save him time. We'll save us time. People will tell your counterpart things they will not tell you simply because they are not you. So you can get really creative with those manager touches as a team. And it's a trade. I'll give you 5, you give me 5 today, right? What if every day, every producer on your team gave another team member one that they hadn't closed yet and they hadn't heard back from. And the goal of the other teammate was to get a hold of that person and find out where they're at and check in on them with exactly the script I gave you. We're very close to it, right? How are they doing for you? Not, is there any reason you haven't bought yet? How are they doing for you? Because what people will reveal to you when you ask that is all the reasons they haven't bought yet, most of the time. Or they'll tell you they've bought from somebody else. This is valuable too. Your time is valuable. If you spend time chasing around prospects that if messaged to or touched the right way would just tell you, look, we went a different direction. How much time could you save? It may not seem like a lot, but let's say I spend 3 minutes of prospect, right? 3 minutes of prospect, and I do 3 major follow-ups a day times 5 days a week times 4 weeks a month times 12 months divided by 60. Okay, 36 hours a year. 9 minutes a day of follow-up is 36 hours a year of follow-up time. 36 hours. Think about that. 36 hours. So my whole point is this. That is 3 hours a month on follow-up. If I'm just touching 3 people, 3 minutes a day for follow-up. What if I knew that one of the 3 every time already bought was never going to do business with me? And by using third-party touches and value add and keeping an open line of trustful communication, people were more willing to tell me that, right? Through a lot of these methods we've talked about. And I knock out 1 out of 3 that I would have followed up that I'm just like, I already know they're not a deal now. So that's okay. I'm going to remove them from my list and not spend any more time on it. What did you just do? Well, if you were going to do 2 touches a week for the next month, so 8 touches at 3 minutes a piece, and then you free up 7 prospects a month, you just freed up 168 minutes or 2.8 hours. Everybody's like, I'm so short on time. It's like, really? Well, if we really went in and we just were communicative and value add, we did third-party touches, and we made ourselves very approachable. We built a level of trust that people would be willing to tell us if they went in a different direction, because we were never trying to slam dunk a deal. And I could save 2-3 hours a month. What could I do with that? Or 5 hours or 6 hours, right? Well, I could do that to go prospect more, close more deals, spend time with the right prospect. So there's that aspect to it as well. So going back to the beginning, as we wrap the show up today, it is August 28th. Tomorrow's Friday. This is the end of August, right? And we're about to get into Q4 here very shortly in about 30, 31, 33 days. If you go into today with the mentality of, if we slam dunk deals, we will burn them. Only the customers that are ready to roll, that I know for sure I can go in and be like, hey, I knew you said Friday was the best way to do this. Are you ready to do this thing? Those are fine. I'm not talking about those. Final piece I'm going to give you, right? As you go in, and hopefully, I'm hoping to impact at least one person today, maybe more, hopefully more, right? You go in and you do this. One other thing I would recommend is, if you've got a team, set up a whiteboard in your office and draw a 50-yard line, a 25-yard line, a 10-yard line, a 2-yard line, and a touchdown, and do half a football field. Just, draw it out, scratch out a football field. And then I want your team in a morning meeting to say, hey, I want you guys to, on a sheet of paper, write a little card. Maybe you get a pack of note cards from CVS or Walgreens or the grocery store, and you pass them out. You give everybody 20 cards. I want you to write down the name of the prospect you quoted that you think is still a deal, their phone number and their email, and their likelihood on a scale of 1 to 5 on how likely they are to close this month. 5 being like, I'm pretty darn sure they're going to close now. 1 being like very unlikely, but it's a stretch goal. Now you have everybody walk up to the whiteboard one at a time, and they take their stack that they wrote out and they place them, right? If it's a 5, they're on the 2-yard line. If they rated the person a 4 out of 5, they're on the 10-yard line, right? If they rated them a 3 out of 5, they're on the 25-yard line. If they rated them a 2 out of 5, they're on the 50-yard line. And if they rated them any lower than that, like if it's just like a 1, which you might have a couple, you just put them over near the other end zone. Like it's 100 yards out. Like this is probably not a Hail Mary we want to try to throw this month, right? But 50-yard line, 50, 25, 10, and 2 shows me a mapping of my whole company, all the deals we have as a team, and also a priority from right to left. If they're on the 2-yard line, that means the team member believes that they're a 5 out of 5 and very likely to close. And if they're a 1 out of 5, they're very unlikely to close. And then anything in between is just different degrees of likelihood, right? So what happens is, as a team, we go, what can we do? What can we do? We've got a list here, and we see a spectrum of like the most likely to the least likely to close. Hey, Michael up there, who's on the 2-yard line, you rated him a 5 out of 5. Why hasn't he closed yet? Well, he said he was going to do this and he was going to do that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, anybody have any ideas on how to help him get this deal closed? Turn it into a team collaboration. And it's called like the 2-yard line exercise. And it is so incredibly helpful. I'm going to do it today. I do it every single month. It is so helpful, and it gets your focus and your intention where it needs to be. Because month end, or anytime really, but especially month end, time flies by. You're like, I can't believe it's 11:35 Eastern time right now. Last time I looked, it was like 7 a.m. I don't know how we got here. Same thing's going to happen. It's going to be Friday at 7 o'clock, and you're going to be like, holy cow, where did the month go? So if you're wandering and you're just touching random deals, you could waste a lot of time right now, versus you put out the board, you do the team exercise, and you have laser focus on like, okay, we know exactly where we need to spend our time. Forget the people on the 100-yard line. Let's start with the 2-yard line. Then let's do the 10-yard line, then the 25-yard line. We're going to work our way backwards from most likely to least likely to close. So there's a lot more to this topic, but that's all we had time for today. I really hope this was valuable to you guys here at the month end. And just in general, I would encourage you guys to really try to rewire your brain on follow-up, right? It's not about you. It's about the customer and building brand and trust. It's about giving them value. And it's about always leading from a place of servitude and impact, so that when you go out there, you don't cut yourself off at the knees and create an awkward situation where basically you either turn customers off or force them to ghost you because they don't want to lose face and they have nothing to tell you yet. Okay. If you're watching this on a restream, right, you've probably caught it from the beginning. If you popped in live with us today here on Thursday, August 28th, 2025, I encourage you, go back, re-listen to the whole thing, get your principles straight, and then a lot more of what I talked about on the tail end of the call is going to make a lot more sense. So that's what we've got for you today. I really am very, very grateful for you guys for joining us. I'm grateful for anybody that stuck on and took some notes. And please send me some follow-up via my messenger on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/Andy Arter official, or you can find me tagged on this stream on Facebook in the Insurance Syndicate group. And I would love any other ideas you have, any feedback from this show. And you can always reach out to me on my cell phone at 702-960-2290. But hope everybody has an amazing day. We have an awesome guest next week. Again, top 50 mortgage broker in the entire nation, former Defense Department contractor, and has one extremely wild story that I'm really excited for him to walk through, as well as just all the value in his team building, the performance level they run at, and then their integration and success and help to help you guys on the insurance side as well. So we'll be back with you next week, same time, same place here in the Insurance Syndicate group, every Thursday at 10:30 a.m., where we bring you experts, or we bring expertise on the things that matter most to help you grow your agency. Hope you guys have an amazing day. Good luck the rest of this month, and we'll see you on the next episode.